If you're thinking, what if the life that I am trying to live isn't actually the life that I want? Or if you're thinking, how do I know if I genuinely want this as my career? Then you are in the right place. Hello, my name is Melina. Welcome to the living room. This is our third episode. I'm so excited because we are Gen Z over here. We're just trying to figure out our lives and figure out the direction we want to go, but ultimately to design a life filled with joy. So that's what we're doing over here is designing joyful lives. Okay, so I know that you work hard. I know that you have all this pressure on you. I know you've been doing everything just as well as you can through your entire life, and I'm so proud of you. But today we're going to be breaking all that down and kind of throwing it away. And I'm sorry, it's kind of brutal, but it's important in this foundational step in the House of You framework. We have the foundational step of self. And we have to understand self before learning anything else about ourselves, the way we connect with other people or the experiences that we have. And we have to understand who is the person that I am today. And this person that you are today is an accumulation of all the experiences that you've had, the way that you see the world, but it's also the expectations you have for yourself and the expectations that others have for you. So we're going to be talking more about these expectations and which ones are actually real and which ones might just be in your head. Because we can put all this pressure on ourselves. Like, I thought I wanted to go to specific school and I thought that I was supposed to go be a lawyer because a lot of my family, they're doctors and lawyers. And I was like, okay, that's what I'm going to go do. That sounds great. And law did sound interesting at the time, but I thought I was supposed to go to school and I was supposed to be a lawyer. And obviously that did not happen. And I am grateful for the life that I have designed today. And so we're going to go over the self, the foundation, and then we're going to go over expectation fallacies, what they are and how they affect our lives. And then we're going to go over the false self versus the true self. And then in the next episode, in our living room after hours, we're going to go over the worksheet that I've designed to help you break down these expectation fallacies and to rebuild them for you to design a more joyful life. Because I've realized that a lot of us are chasing a life that we didn't choose, or you're chasing the idea of a life that you don't actually want. And some expectations are actually very healthy. Like a lot of the expectations you have for yourself to be a good person and to work hard, those are good things to have. But it's when those expectations now become obsessions and the things that you're working on, you're just going to get to a point where you're like, what am I doing with my life? What in the world? Who have I become? Because this is not the route that I'm wanting to take. And that's where it becomes unhealthy. So, the goal of this episode and for you as you're designing your joyful life is not to get rid of all expectations for yourself. That is not good. And all accountability. Please don't do that. But what you are going to be doing is to consciously decide which expectations are true for your true self and which expectations are coming from outside sources that aren't a part of your true self. So let's begin. So, the House of You Foundation, we start with self. And if you are seeing the world through the eyes of you, obviously, this is the life that you're living, right? This is your day to day, your routines. It's all very normal for you. But we're going to be stripping all of that back and seeing, okay, what actually are you doing? What life are you actually living? And if the foundation of your self of you house is built on the expectation of someone that you don't want to be in the future, then that house obviously crumbles and that's not the person that you want to become. So we have to examine these expectations in order to build the house of you and to design this joyful life. Because I've been writing down some key points that I'm hoping that you understand, and I'm just going to read them off here. Many people never stop. Like it's just go, go, go. And you never stop long enough to realize, okay, what am I actually striving to become? Who is that person that I'm actually striving to be? Because we inherit all these expectations before we develop an identity. And a lot of these have to do with labels that we were given when we were young as well. Like I was labeled shy for a while when I was very young, and I'm not a shy person. I don't label myself as a shy person anymore. And so that idea of, oh, I am a shy person, that really did, I had to grow out of that. And so labels are a really big deal when talking about self, and we're going to go deeper into that later. But in childhood, we are often praised, especially the school system and from parents, and nothing wrong with either of those two things. But I feel like internally, we know that being good and doing the best and getting the straight A's, those are the things that we are praised for. And it teaches us to crave that you have to do this in order to have love or attention or validation or safety. So it's like an if then statement, which in reality, I'm going to tell you, in reality, you are loved, you are validated, you are important, and you are safe. You don't have to do something in order to feel these important pieces in our life. But in childhood, we're wired to expect that, right? We're wired to say, okay, if I clean my room, then mom and dad will not yell at me. And that's more of a fear based approach. But there's also schools. I there's so much I can talk about the school system. I have a lot of thoughts on it, but especially public schools. Like I went to a public school in Idaho, and it was great, whatever. But I was rewarded with certain strengths like paying attention and not talking during the teacher talk, which is basic respect. But also, I learned okay, if I do X, Y, and Z, I will get this reward or this validation. And so our culture just quietly starts to teach us that there is a timeline and there is very specific things that are leading you and that are successful. We assume that getting a high paycheck is success, but if that really doesn't resonate with your true self, then it's not true, right? Success can be defined by what you define success as. It doesn't have to just be monetary. And we'll go deeper into this. This is what an expectation fallacy is. An expectation fallacy is creating an emotional contract with your life. It's saying, if I achieve this thing, then I'll feel whole. And there's a couple different expectation fallacies that I've thought of and wanted to bring to you, and you can start to identify expectation fallacies in your life, because we create these promises in our mind that the future is going to be better if I do X, Y, and Z, which is true, but it has to be in the right context and the right motivation, right? The future, you can't just say, if I am a lawyer, I'm going to be happy and I'm going to be successful. Okay, maybe that works for you, but that doesn't work for me. But that was an expectation fallacy I had in my head in high school. Some other expectation fallacies that you might think of is like, when I graduate, then I'll feel confident and I'll feel ready to take on the world after I graduate. And let me tell you, I just graduated and there is still a lot that I am figuring out. So don't get too hung up on that. Or if I get married, when I get married, I will never feel lonely again, which is not the case. Sometimes people still feel lonely in a marriage. And so these expectation fallacies happen. We're starting to attach these emotions with an external outcome. And so let's go through these different expectation fallacies. Let's break them up. So the first one is a hedonic adaptation. So we learned in our last episode that the hedonic life is really seeking pleasure and mitigating pain. And so in this hedonic adaptation of our expectation fallacies, sorry, that's a lot of words, but as humans, we normalize improvements quickly. And so we say, "Oh, if I get my dream apartment, then I will be happy." But then you get that dream apartment and you're happy for a second, and then you normalize it, you get used to it, and it's not as exciting anymore. So then we're chasing another thing. So another hedonic adaptation might be, okay, if I get this promotion at work, I will be happy then. But then you get the promotion. And yes, congratulations, good job. But now you're just seeking for the next thing. And you say, if I do this, then I'll be happy. And you're never happy in the moment, right? You're never truly satisfied with where you're at now. And so this is huge because in our expectation fallacies, we believe that once I get there, I'll be happy. And this is just not true. You can be happy, you can be joyful right now. Now, I'm not saying to throw out all goals, throw out everything. Those things aren't going to make you happy. Like, that's not true. You need goals, you need a path, you need a blueprint, but you also need to know that there isn't a once I'll get there, then I'll be happy, right? You need to start to live the happy now. And we're going to do that by breaking down these expectation fallacies. So that's number one is hedonic adaptation. And I'm sure you can find that in your life. I get that all the time where I'm like, oh, if I just get this new purse, then I'm going to be happy, which is not true. And it's a very hedonic, pleasure seeking way of living your life. Number two, the arrival fallacy. So this goes right along with it. It's that believing that happiness is permanently forever the destination. It's far away. It's not the journey, right? You hear that sentence of life is a journey and you need to enjoy the ride or whatever it is. And it has some truth to it where you're thinking after graduation, then I'll be happy. After I'm married, then I'll be happy. After the promotion, then I'll be happy. It's that once I arrive there, then I'm going to be happy. So the hedonic adaptation is more of I need to feel this in order to be happy. Like I need to buy this purse in order to be happy. And the arrival fallacy is after I graduate, it's more of the destination, then I'm going to be happy. But life doesn't all of a sudden become happy once you get that apartment or you get that job. Yes, being married is amazing and I highly recommend it because I love my husband, but marriage is you got to marry the right person. We can talk about more of that with like social. Okay, let's go to expectation fallacy number 3. And this is miswanting. So you're thinking of things, oh, if I get that apartment, then I'll be happy. But what if the apartment isn't the actual thing that you want? And this has to do a lot with the social, like what has been taught to you that is important. Social comparison fuels this constantly, where you're like, okay, I can talk about like fads or the trends that happen. If if I want to be cool, so I'm gonna buy a Labubu. And what the heck is a Labubu? The first time I saw it, I was like, what is this demonic creature that is absolutely terrifying? Why does everyone have them? Why are we obsessing over them? And right now, this is probably going to date this video later, but right now, everyone on TikTok is obsessing over the dumplings, the like sparkly jelly dough dumplings, and they're losing their minds. And this is crazy where these people, and if it's you, that I'm happy you found something that makes you happy, but it's this fallacy. It's miswanting where you're like, okay, if I get this glitter squishy dumpling, then I will feel happy. And I'm going to tell you that's that's not going to make you happy in the long run. You might get that initial emotional like high and excitement and I'm glad you got that dumpling, but that it's not what you actually want. And I'm hoping it's not what you actually want to fulfill your life. And this miswanting is where that comes from. I often think of like, what will someone think about me if I had this thing? I will be so cool if I have this thing. And then I I fall into the trends as well sometimes. Not the Labubu or the dough dumpling. I don't understand those, but there are things that I'm like, oh yeah, like a wall of water bottles. Yes, please. I have 2 of them. They are awesome. And a hydro jug, awesome. But just funny. Also with like my career, going back to the lawyer, I thought that if I was a lawyer, I would get the prestige, and I thought that's what I was wanting was the prestige, not actually to be a lawyer, but to have the title of lawyer. So that kind of draws right into the next one, which is number 4, socially inherited expectations. And these are the expectations that you have placed on yourself, and they're more underlying. Like they're not in your face like the Labubu. You need the Labubu to be happy. It's more of you need if you want to be successful, you have to be busy. Like that is a culture, it could be a like a family, it could be a societal, like these are expectations that have crept into your mind and you've just said like, okay, that's what this is. Another example is like good students become doctors or good people do this or whatever, or rest is lazy. That could be something that's been placed in your mind that is just socially inherited. And This needs to be examined more. This is such an interesting, and I feel like it's not a bad thing that we have these expectations put on us societally until it's unhealthy, right? If you really think that rest is lazy, that's not good. You need to rest. You need to take a break. You need a social media break. You need just time for you to think. I feel like, oh, this is a little tangent, but I always feel like I need to have something playing, whether it's a podcast or it's music or a YouTube video or just something that's like in my mind. Like something is going on constantly, no matter what. And this is so bad because I never can really rest and my brain needs to think, and that's where the best ideas come from, are when your brain is at rest and you're able to think. And we'll talk more about that later in our transcendence pillar as well. But we're going to take all these fallacies and we're going to break them down in our living room after hours. It's a worksheet that I've built. And it's so important to identify these expectation fallacies. I'm so excited to go over this worksheet because if you don't identify them and you don't realize like this is the trajectory my life's going, it will just control your life and you'll become a lawyer and you won't be happy. And I'm using the lawyer as an example, but if you are wanting to become a lawyer, that's awesome. But it's really important to break down the expectations and say, why do I actually want this in order to direct the life that you want to have and to have that joy that you're hoping to have in the future. It's not just a, if I get this, then I'll have this. It's I feel joy in what I'm doing right now. And so I know I will have joy in the future with what I'm doing. And that's one thing that I've appreciated with my parents. They've very much taught that, yes, you should have goals, but you should also be enjoying the phase you are, like the phase in life that you are right now. And if you're not enjoying the phase in life that you are right now, then you need to fix something. And so when I was young, like I was happy. And when I was in high school was hard. I was happy. When I was in college, college was hard, but I was still happy. And right now, as we're figuring out our life and our future family and everything, and I'm figuring it out with my husband, things are really, really hard, but I'm happy. And that's what's so important of identifying these expectation fallacies. They shape your career choices, they shape your relationships, they shape your financial habits, they shape the way you feel like you have self-worth, can impact your anxiety, the way you spend your time. Like all of these things are coming together because of the expectation and the way that you see the world. And so we often sacrifice the things that we actually want and creating well-being. Oh, let me rephrase that. We sacrifice the things that will actually create well-being and joy while we chase something that we think will create joy. And so, for example, if you sacrifice sleep to cram in some notes and studying for a test, you're not going to be able to sleep and that's not good. But then you might actually do worse on the test in the short run, but in the long term, you're creating bad sleep habits, you're creating more anxiety for yourself. It's just not a good mix. If you sacrifice your friendship with someone in order to move higher up in a company, like that, oh, in the long run, it's going to be harder to experience joy. I won't say you won't experience joy, of course. There's lots of ways that we're going to dive into feeling joy, but it's going to be a lot harder. And so you will later realize that you are abandoning the things that give life meaning. So now that we've gone over the expectation fallacies, the four different kinds that I've identified, and we've started to think, okay, what am I sacrificing now to live the life that I think that I want? And so now we're going to start to think about the false self versus the true self. And the false self is like this performed kind of social media aesthetic things that I'm doing that I think everyone else thinks is cool, but things that I don't actually care for or want to be. And this performed self, it's really all about seeking approval from others. It sounds impressive, it looks successful, it keeps everybody comfortable with what you're doing. but it's not the true you. It's the things that you're doing for other people, but let's start to think about the true self. What energizes you? What feels meaningful? What gives you peace instead of makes you feel like you're performing stuff, you know? What is something that you would do even if no one else was watching? Like right now, my last video got 15 views, which is like the highest that my videos have gotten, and that's amazing. But I'm doing this because it brings me joy. Bringing like helping other people figure out joy in their life helps me have more meaning in my life, even if nobody's watching it. And I hope one person it helps one person. But this is the thing that brings me energy. And so some things that I want you to think about are what parts of you would you do or what things would you do even if nobody else praised it, right? For me it's making videos. For my husband, he loves Legos. What choices in your life feel heavy or which ones feel more grounding? And finally, I wanted to talk about the permission to redefine what success is. You don't have to think like, okay, my parents, everybody else, like school system, they all failed me. They've ruined my dreams and traditional lives are fake and I just hate all this. Like that's not true. It's not true. But what it does mean is that a joyful life isn't a one size fits all. It doesn't mean you have to be a lawyer in order to be happy. Instead, you need to understand that for some people, a corporate career is fulfilling and that is the direction you want to go. And that's incredible. For some people, money does matter and like get making sure you have enough money to feed your family is important. For some people, like family life is central and you want to be a stay-at-home mom and that's beautiful as well. And for others, like the freedom matters more, the creativity matters more, the flexibility matters more, your internal mission and drive matters more. And all of that is great and amazing to explore. But the most important thing is what does the joyful life look like to you? And so the goal is to consciously align your true self with what you're doing. So that's what the worksheet in the next, the 2.5 episode or our living room after hours is all about is breaking down those expectation fallacies and figuring out what is that drive? What is that important thing that we're trying to do? And it's very important because it separates belief with the source and the emotion and the alignment and looking at it in an objective way in order for you to determine what is this conscious alignment goal for you. And I'm just so excited because I love talking about you and talking about how you can design your joyful life. And breaking down these expectation fallacies is so important as we're building the foundation of self. So I'm so grateful that you were here in the living room. And I hope that I was able to share something to help you. I hope that you can share something with me to help all of us. And just again, thank you for joining us in the living room. And I will see you in the living room after hours. Bye.